From BQE Restaurant and Lounge in the heart of Atlanta's historic Martin Luther King District, it's Newsmakers Live, bringing you the issues, politics, and perspective of the Atlanta community. Now in its 10th season, here is tonight's moderator and your host, 8-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
Talking to important and significant community leaders, figures, and political leaders, and I have with me tonight one of the top female elected officials in the state of Georgia. She happens to be a 20-year veteran of the Atlanta City Council. Ms. Felicia Moore, thank you so much for being here with us.
And thank you for having me. Thank you so
You've
much.
been a vibrant and outspoken voice and activist on this council for years. Why try to give up that seat that you've held for 20 years, we just said, to run for city council president? Why now? Why that seat?
Well, now the seat is open. As you know, the president currently is running for mayor, so it's an open seat. At the end of this term, I will have served 20 years, and I believe it's time for me to step up my service to the citizens of Atlanta. I certainly enjoy representing District 9, but I'm looking forward to doing some things on a citywide basis and tackling some of our citywide issues from that seat.
How does the city council president impact those issues when the mayor is the top person in the town? Aren't you kind of second fiddle to the guy who's really setting the pace for the city?
Well, I think that the seat is certainly an opportunity to use it as a bullpit and be an advocate for certain issues. And you can bring forth the issues to the council members who you appoint to different committees to make sure that they are addressed.
Given your brand and spirit of politics, you leading a council would be a sea change, would it not?
I think it would, because I do look for accountability. I certainly have always spoke toward transparency and wanting to move closer to that as city government, as well as ethical issues. And so, yes, it would be a game changer in that we will focus on some of those issues that really concern our citizens. We need to build our trust back in city government. And those are some of the ways that we do it. And those are some of the things I want to accomplish as president of Atlanta City Council.
There are those who have called you over the years tough, sensitive, caring, outspoken. How do you describe your brand of leadership?
Well, I think that it's all of that, and it depends on the situation. You know, I look at myself as a public servant in a political environment. So there are political realities in which we deal with, but I really want to serve the public, and that's what I've been doing. I try to mirror what our citizens want to see in their elected official. Responsiveness, trustworthiness, and, you know, the ability to stand up to issues and to speak for them when they need to be spoken for. And I've done that not only for my residents in District 9, but over my soon-to-be 20 years for residents across the city.
Well, you were a teenager when you started this job at City Council?
Yeah, I will go with that. No, I wasn't actually a teenager, but I was a lot younger. I was 20 years younger.
And so one of the youngest young ladies ever elected to council, am I correct?
Well, I don't know if I was the youngest female, but that's something I can research. I probably was amongst them, if not anything else.
What is your career? What do you do other than city council? Because you've been known as a voice of the voiceless. Sometimes you speak for the untrodden, the downtrodden. But what do you do professionally?
Well, professionally, when I'm not serving the citizens, and I take that as my first priority. When I put myself on the ballot, I had to make a decision that that was going to be my first priority. But when I can squeeze in other time, I'm an associate real estate broker, so I serve people, serving them during their real estate needs. And I've also done other smaller things along the way. I started out as a public relations consultant, haven't done much of that over the years.
You spent a lot of time being a city council member and
Exactly.
activist, right?
You have to, because it's two parts of the job. The one part is people elect you to go down to City Hall and take care of business of the entire city because they have jobs to do and things to do, and they expect you to know what you're voting on, to study the issues and be knowledgeable and make good decisions. And then there's the community part, where they expect to see you at their community meetings and events and gatherings, and they expect you to respond when they call or they email you. So there's two parts to that job.
Do you like it, or is it sometimes draining and exhausting, and sometimes you might say, why do this? I mean,
Well, you have to like it, and you know, I
you have to love it almost, right?
Well, it is. It's a passion of mine, and it's something that I started out when I grew up. You know, the the level of service in the community. My father taught me the values of service in the community. He was a school board member in Indiana. You know, my mom was an executive secretary at Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, serving people when they feel aggrieved or had issues. And so, you know, it's just a part of my nature, and so it's something that I want to do.
What is it about this job that appeals to city council presidency, and how do you think you can be able to direct the city's strategies and influences over the next 8 years, 4 to 8 years?
Well, there are many issues that I think that the citizens realize are really telling. For instance, our juvenile and criminal justice issue. You know, we have to look at what is causing our children to behave in the manner that they are, and what are some of the things that we as the city can do to help stem that tide. And one of them is really being supportive of families, in particular single mothers, who are a lot in our city, who are out there struggling day to day, who need work, who need jobs, who need job training, who need to have stable and sustainable housing, not living in some slumlord situation, where the kids can grow up in a healthy environment and be productive citizens. So those are some things that, because I'm not just focused on the day-to-day, pick up the trash, we have a pothole type of issue in the district, and I'm able to work on a citywide basis, I'll be able to laser focus on some of those issues. And as president, be able to influence other council members to introduce legislation that I may draft, and or for them to say, hey, you want to be chairman of the Community Development Committee, what is your thoughts on affordable housing? Is that something that you're going to push for as the chair of that committee? And if they're not interested in affordable housing, maybe it's time for them to be chair of that committee at another time. But right now, we have a critical affordable housing need in our city.
You see that as a primary issue, a major concern for Atlanta right now, affordable housing.
Well, yes, it is, and I think that, you know, the horse has left the gate and we are chasing it down the track. And if we don't run fast, we may not be able to stem some of that impact. And so that's something that you need to make sure as a council president, it's important that they pick, you know, the right mix of council members on a committee to make sure they can address those issues and that they will address those issues. I think sometimes people forget that the policymakers of the city are actually the city council. And if we as a council do our role and our part in it, when we set that policy direction, the executive branch should execute that, which is the mayor and the other parts of the city.
But there's some who have said and believe, and you well know this, that the city council really is running in cahoots with the mayor, that the mayor leads the way and you follow. That the council has become kind of less impactful under this current mayor.
Well, I think that can be true and that cannot be true. So I think citizens, as they're looking at the council president, whom is a person that is second in line to the mayor, as they need to look at who's going to be leading the first line and make sure that they make good decisions on a mayor. And that direction is what we want to see overall in the city. That way, the council, if they're doing what the mayor wants and it's what the citizens want, then we're moving in the right direction.
Has this mayor, Kasim Reed, been combative with you and other council members, or has he kind of reduced the influence of the city council?
Well, I think that the city council can assert itself at any time collectively, and it's not an individual thing that the council wants to do that. And of course, it's no mystery that the mayor and I have disagreed on policy issues, and we've dealt with them as we do. You know, I am one that will want to make sure that we have openness, transparency, and engagement in city government. Sometimes that doesn't mesh with the administration, but we move on and the city can progress. We have an opportunity now to elect a new mayor, president, and about 7 of the council members that are all running for something else. Over half of the council's running.
This is a seat change coming.
It most definitely is.
I mean, I don't think we had a turnover like this in perhaps your 20 years on.
Right, I think when I came in, it was about 6 to 8, so I think that we were the last big turnover, so I guess I'll be president while there'll be a whole new crew of council members. But that's a good thing. Sometimes it's good. I believe that we'll have veteran members that will return to council, no doubt. And with a council president that has also been on the council and familiar with its processes and procedures, I think we'll do just fine.
Where do you see the city now? Where are we? Sea change, turnover on the city council. Where is Atlanta now as a city? Is it still a city of haves and have-nots, or the have-nots being pushed out of town?
It is a have and have-not situation, and I do think that we have to make sure that we're paying attention to the have-not situation, or, most people are talking about gentrification and how areas that have traditionally been lower income areas that are now seeing people with income coming in and the feel that they're being moved out. So I think that the city, to be the great city that we are, we've got to be diverse, and we have to especially make sure that we have that balance in incomes and races and ideologies and religions, and that's what makes Atlanta great. And I think we need to be careful that we don't lose a lot of our low-income population, and we also need to make sure, more importantly, as I was talking about, how we need to strengthen the role of some of our single mothers and women in particular. We need to make sure that we're getting pay equity and those types of things. There are bigger issues that are being dealt with on a national and regional and statewide basis that as council president, I'll have time to focus on and make sure that Atlanta is represented in its numbers and its advocacy.
I find it ironic or telling that you're running against another city council veteran, C.T. Martin. How do you view that? You guys have known each other, worked with each other for years, and now you're in a battle against for the top job of the city council.
Well, I don't really consider it as running against him. I think it's running for the seat. We have all served on city council, so we know the process of how to run a meeting. And so I think the difference is that we're just deciding at the same time that we want to up our service to the city council and see ourselves in the role of being able to do that. But what I see that I'm going to add as added value is really using that role not only just to do the typical things that you're supposed to do, like when I describe my role as council member, doing those city hall charter related things, but I want to add value to that and to be able to do things for the community and for particular issues, to be able to help undergird women and help strengthen families and provide resources and information. There's a lot of information out there about how people can help uplift their lives that many people aren't getting that information. So I'd like to use my office as a vehicle of getting that done.
You see yourself carving out a niche for yourself where you can have a platform where your voice can be heard and not just be
Oh, my
Number
voice will
two.
be heard. I think many people have said to me, well, I hate that you're not council member anymore because, we want you asking those questions and doing those.
That's been your reputation.
And you know what? They're not going to lose that, because one thing that has not been utilized by the council president is that a council president is an ex officio member of every committee. And so in layman's terms, I sit on every committee. Now, I don't intend to be at every meeting and sit on every committee, but when a critical voice is needed, when someone needs to be there to add or ask questions, I plan on being there and I plan on having an opinion. Because at any given time, there may be a tie. And
that's when you come to play.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Councilwoman Felicia Moore, running for City Council President, a 20-year veteran, and is brilliant as she is bright in her red. This has been Newsmakers. Stay tuned.